Alright all, and welcome back to another video and another weekend preview looking ahead at the Cheltenham December meeting, a few races from Doncaster and a few races from Fairyhouse as well over the weekend, as it is getting closer to those Christmas weeks, and obviously Leopardstown, Kempton and the Welsh National at Chepstow being the main ports of call over Christmas. I probably will be doing day-by-day videos over Christmas if the demand is there. You might let me know down in the comments below whether you'd like to see day-by-day videos for the likes of Leopardstown and Limerick and Kempton and stuff like that over the Christmas weeks. I'm happy to do them if the demand is there. I won't do them if the demand isn't there. Brilliant enough racing to get through. Two races I'm covering tomorrow, Friday's card at Cheltenham, and then a fair few throughout the cards on Saturday. It's currently 4 o'clock on Thursday, so that's when all the prices that for the races I do have the prices for, that's when they've been taken from. They may contract, they may enlarge by the time of off time. We'll just have to go and see. As I've said many a time before, and if it's almost just a ritual at this stage, if you want to get in touch about horse racing ownership, do get in touch with myself or Kieran down in the description below. We've got 5 horses currently on the go. We had a few runners last week, as I was saying in Monday's video, who both ran pretty nicely. Actually, the horse Do This Like This was flagged up on the Racing Post Members Ultimate as a horse to follow. He travelled like a very good horse, hopefully on a bit of better ground. We might be hitting the frame or even hitting the board maybe with a horse like him. He's a really promising horse to look at. He ran well for an awful long way in the bumper behind Kilcroot, who looks champion bumper bound. But anyway, we'll get on into Friday's action first. I know there's not going to be much shelf life between this video going out and Friday, so that's why I've only done the two, and I think there's only two really worth previewing from my perspective, from a betting perspective. Starting off with the Peterborough Chase over 2.5 miles, and I see an awful lot of people trying to kind of go away from the obvious in this, but I'm going to stay with the obvious in Top Notch at 7-2. I think it's actually not the worst price in the world. I know he's probably a little bit fishy fresh. He's good sometimes, like he won fresh last year beating Roxana at Aintree. He's lost before fresh, though I do understand that angle against him and that he has to carry a bit more weight than some of his other rivals. I just look at this race and think he's the only horse in this race that's justifying his rating of 158. You have Ollys in there of 160, can't understand why. Mr. Fisher of 155. Like, these horses haven't really achieved. Like, Top Notch, he is what he is. Like, he's probably not, he is that little bit short of grade 1 class, but he goes and sweeps these grade 2s left, right and centre, and I think 7-2 might actually be a hint of a price in this race. I know he is favourite, but 7-2 is still a very backable price. I think he's the most solid option in the race, and I'd be really, really surprised if he's not bang there come the finish of it. The other race I'm going to cover is the 3-mile handicap hurdle, the last race on the card, and I'm going to give one more chance to a horse called Goodbye Dancer for Fergal O'Brien and Paddy Brennan around the 8-10-1 mark. This is real last chance saloon. I put him up, I think it was for the October meeting. Didn't run any race behind Honest Vic that day, but he does like the track overall. He won off a mark of 124 last year. Over course and distance, and then fell when he was either going to win or come second on New Year's Day off a mark of 134. He's now back down to a mark of 125, having had absolute no-shows since that fall on New Year's Day last year. So almost 12 months worth of no-shows. He's now back down to 125. And Paddy Brennan, he does get ridden cold. I'd say Paddy Brennan will ride him cold, wide, as he often does. And maybe this horse might run a decent race. He is coming down to that type of mark where he can be very competitive. The other two big enough races on the Friday are the Handicap Chase and the Cross Country Chase, which both have Irish favourites. So you might be wondering why I'm not putting, or I'm not previewing or not putting either of them up. Personally, I'd love them both to win. I'd love Court Maid to win because David Mullins hasn't had a winner at Cheltenham at any meeting, which is an absolute disaster. He's a brilliant rider. I think he might get it with this mare. She's very upwardly progressive, I think. I wouldn't take the price, though, personally, just because she's off the back of winning the Porterstown only a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. It's going to be very hard to back that up, I suspect, so therefore it wouldn't be for me at the prices. But that being said, I've nothing else in the race to take on. And the same with Never Rushicon in the cross-country chase. I'd love to see this horse win the cross-country, but I'd be just dubious about his price with his stamina. Like I've no issue. Like he's a horse that's brilliant around the banks in Punchestown. He's run very well in the Riscus Thunder the last 2 years now. He was second to Yanworth. He then beat Ballyboker Bridge very well this year. I don't know. I wouldn't be going in at the price he is, that 5-2, 3-1, just because he hasn't looked like he's stayed before when he's run over this course and distance, and that would be a concern. Both of them I would love to win, but they're too short for me to be going in on for those reasons. But if you are on them, I wouldn't put you off at the same stage though, because like I do want them to win. I don't find any likely alternatives, but I'm trying to concise the races that I'm putting up on this video as being the races that I will be having a bet in, and those two wouldn't be two I would have a bet in over the weekend. Moving on to Saturday, and the major race on Saturday is the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup, and I just think, and I know some of you guys will probably be thinking he sounds like a complete broken record at this stage, but this could be the race, and I do stress the word could be the type of race that Windsor Avenue just absolutely dots in. Off a mark of 148, I do think he's better than a mark of 148. He's 13-2. I'm going to take that as an each-way price. I know it's not the best each-way price you're ever going to find, but Master Tommy Tucker, I can see the angle behind him, but his jumping's just so hit and miss. I don't know in a bigger race, a bigger field, will his jumping cope. Windsor Avenue's a lovely jumper. That form of the Carlisle run was much more like his best, and he was only 2.5 lengths behind Imperial Aura that day. That looks rock solid form in the book at this stage. Black Op, even, who came third, ran a good race for the majority of the way in the Hennessy just before making a few mistakes yet again when it got to the business end of things. I don't know whether I'm just chasing not chasing losses, but chasing shadows on this Windsor Avenue, that I just want him to be better than he is. But off 148, I really thought he'd be better than 148. I'm sure connections think he's going to be better than 148. They go on about him like he should be running in the Gold Cup, to be honest. But I think he's worth a chance in this type of race. If he doesn't run any type of race here, I'd be pretty sceptical about going in on him again, especially in these types of races. He doesn't have that big handicap experience, which is a concern in a race like this, but hopefully they book him out handy enough, and if you can get into a decent jumping rhythm around Cheltenham, he may well have a squeak come the business end of it. 13-2, I'm going to take a chance. I know he's one of my cliff horses, but I do like him an awful lot. The Albert Bartlett trial over 3 miles. There's obviously an Irish challenger in Make Good for John McConnell. Best of luck to John and Make Good. I know he's one of those cliff horses for the finishing line. Tom loves him. So there's been a bit of banter about that, which is fair enough. He's gone and won now 2 times in a row over hurdles. He won a flat handicap as well. I just looked at this race. I thought he was completely out of his depth personally, but if you are on Make Good, fair enough. Best of luck to John and connections. The one I'm going to have a chance here on is Ask a Honey Bee for Fergal O'Brien at 9-2. Connor Brace takes the mount. Paddy Brennan's up at Doncaster on Saturday, so that's why Connor Brace is there. He was second in the French Furs last time out to get around Ella Pickard's. He was arguably a little bit unlucky. He didn't jump very well and didn't quite get there in the end, beaten ahead, I think. But more importantly, I know on one of my Cheltenham update videos a week or two ago, I alluded to a horse I thought may have a very outlandish chance in the Bartlett, in a horse called Bob Hope or No Hope for Kim Bailey at 50-1. Now this horse finished second behind that horse at Exeter at the time before the French Furs. And before that, beat Ashtown Lad at Wetherby over 2.5 miles. Ashtown Lad reopposes in this race. I think Ask a Honeybee's got a fair chance. The jumping would cause an awful lot for concern, but this 3 miles at Cheltenham should see this horse to best effect. And I just think that there is a kind of a marathon novice hurdle in this horse. Like, it just seems like there's no trip will be long enough, and maybe that's a good thing. Ashtown Lad won very impressively the last 2 times, but I'd be willing to take him on at the prices. I don't think John McConnell's horse is good enough, and hopefully Ask a Honeybee can get his head in front. Moving on to the biggie, the international hurdle, the big graded race on the card, the 2 mile graded race. And Goshen's in there at 9-4, I think 5-2 with some bookmakers, and I think it's going to be a bit of a Marmite call for a lot of people. You're either going to look at it and go, God, that's great value, or geez, it could be touching Goshen. He's pulled out a few times. His flat runs weren't the best. All that. I'd be in the first camp though. I think 9-4 is an absolutely stinking good price about him. I just want to see this horse win, and I've kind of come full circle on him. In terms of, you just want good horses. I want this champion hurdle picture to be good, and I said that the other day in one of my videos. You want Epatante running there, and Goshen's got a live chance, Sam Wa's got a chance, Abacadabra's got a chance, maybe add in, I don't know whether Honeysuckle would run or Concertista would run, but add these horses in, and the race becomes more of a spectacle. So, like, yes, fair enough, you could maybe take on Goshen on the weekend, but surely you can't begrudge him if he does go and hacks up, because he's against the same horses that Epatante's been beating. So if he goes and beats these horses well, you know, there's similar enough form lines. It's so royal. It's a song for someone's maybe a little bit unexposed. Maybe he's the main changer. Silver Streak desperately unlucky in the fighting fifth. But I'm going to take Goshen here. I really hope he can do the business. Gary Moore's team are in red-hot form at the moment. 7 winners from the last 41 runners over the last 2 weeks, including a few at Sandown last weekend, a few there the other day. I think it was at Fontwell Park, including my horse, Nasa Lam, who was really impressive again in the juvenile hurdle. Hopefully, bigger assignments lay down the line for that horse. Maybe Chepstow over Christmas, I've heard. But Goshen in the biggie, the international at 9-4. I'd be really, really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on Goshen. Is it a back? Is it a lay on the weekend? And do you think he can make up into a champion hurdle horse? Like, if he does win this race by 4 or 5 lengths, does that not make him a real champion hurdle contender? I'm not so sure. You guys let me know down in the comments. Final race on the card, the 2 mile 4 furlong handicap hurdle. Indefatigable runs in this, winner, the Martin Pipe. I think she's high enough in the weights personally, and I'd take a chance on one off a featherweight. Dan Skelton's horse, Ollys Wishes. I think that's how you pronounce it. He has another horse in there, Aggie With It, I think is the mare's name. Trained obviously by Dan, but ridden by Harry. This horse wasn't Harry's selection. It's William Marshall's on him, but William Marshall takes £7 off him. She's off a mark of 130. William, £7 obviously helps an awful lot. With that, potentially a little bit well in. One under Harry Skelton off a mark of 124. At Hereford last time out on softer ground. I'd take Aggie With It on just because she hasn't proven herself in softer ground, and I know the ground probably won't be too bad at Cheltenham over the weekend, but you know, it always takes a little bit of getting, obviously, and I'd take Ollys Wishes to run well. 8-1, 9-1 is generally available. One race I'm going to cover up in Doncaster, and it's the big one, the 3 mile handicap chase. Just my thoughts. I didn't really fancy much in the novices chase. I think the favourite might go well, and then the juvenile hurdle, I'm sure that Montmoral will probably win, but he's 4-6. He's no type of price that I'd be backing. The 3 mile handicap chase hasn't been priced up yet, but I'm really sweet on Boldmere in this race for Caroline Bailey. Paddy Brennan takes the ride. Paddy Brennan's up in Doncaster, and he gets this ride in the big handicap. This horse, I think, has a massive chance. Won over course and distance off 133 last year, off a mark 142 now, and maybe hasn't been overly inspiring this year, but I think he needed his run at Chepstow behind Secret Investor. He usually goes better for a run under his belt, and I don't think just Bangor would have suited. I think he relishes a more galloping track. Last year you looked at him, he was good around Chepstow, he was very good around Doncaster, and he would have won the Towton Novices Chase at Wetherby, if not tipping up at the last. Now Wetherby and Doncaster, very similar courses, very galloping, 2 long straights. I think this horse is made for this race. 142, I think Gimme a Copper will be out for a spin. And I think this horse, I know he's near enough the top of the weights, but I think he's a massive chance. I'm going to be really intrigued to see what type of price I can get about him. If he's kind of 6-1 above, probably each way. If he's not, keep updating the video, because once the prices come out, I usually update the prices in the description below as to what I've taken. But yeah, I think he does have a very good chance. I'd be very interested to see how he goes. Over at Fairyhouse, just the two for you, which will be the two concluders of this week's video. The 2 mile Handicap Chase. I'm going to take another chance on a horse called Cappucimix for Rachel Blackmore and Henry de Bromhead over mark 136. Was 2 free at Cork on reappearance. I think that was under Darragh O'Keefe. Just far too free, didn't jump very well either behind Chatham Street Lads of Mick Winters, who was an awfully impressive winner that day. Still travelled into the race like a very good horse, just blew up after 2 out. Sure to be better than that and sure to have come on an awful lot for that. Rachel Blackmore now in the saddle. I think there's an awful lot to like there. Again, it's a race that hasn't been priced up. But I'd like to hope we might get an each-way price on Cappucimix in a pretty competitive handicap. And the Beginner's Chase over 2 miles. I don't know, Captain Guinness is entered tomorrow at Punchestown and obviously on Saturday at Fairyhouse. I think the race tomorrow at Punchestown is weaker, so it wouldn't surprise me if he ran in that. And if he does run in that, I'd be all over Port Stanley in the Beginners at Fairyhouse, a horse I've liked for quite a while now. Ran very nicely on his seasonal debut, I think behind Easy Work and Embittered in the 2 mile 1 at Navan. And then finished third, beaten a fair while by an Ergamine at Gorham Park over 2.5 miles. But that was 2.5 miles on very soft ground. I don't think he stayed the trip, and the soft ground probably was a bit of an inconvenience. I remember this horse actually winning a maiden hurdle around Naas, and we were in the, me and my dad were in the, we're at the winner's enclosure, obviously clapping the horse in because we backed it, which is terrible after time, but we had backed it. And we just listened in on Robbie Power talking to Jesse Harrington, and at that time he said, keep this horse to 2 miles on soft ground or go up to 2.5 miles on good ground. So obviously he went up to 2.5 miles, didn't get the good ground, didn't stay, back to 2 miles on that softer ground. I think he'll take an awful lot of stopping with Sean O'Keefe on board. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below as always. We've had another 15-20 subscribers since the last video, so anyone new on board, great to see you. Thanks for getting involved. It means an awful lot to me. The people commenting, the people liking, and obviously subscribing to these videos. And of course, if you have any fancies for the weekend, make sure to put them down below so we all see them and all hopefully back a few winners. And until next time, where we'll be covering probably another weekend preview next week. Hope you stay safe, stay well, land a few bets, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.